Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases coming out this Friday, August 11th. There's about 500 albums coming out this week. I got 10 on the list for the day. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlists we put together every week, and of course the Patreon page also. So make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 500 albums coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 10 on the show today, so if there's something I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what albums you're looking forward to picking up this week. And like always, if you're unable to find any of these in your local brick and mortar stores, I'll put links down below. All these should be available online. So while there's nothing really huge coming out this week, I think there are a couple of really great releases that are kind of flying under the radar, especially this first one. This is David Bowie, Ziggy, Stardust, and the Spiders from Mars, the motion picture. This was released in '83. It's a live show from July 3rd, 1973, so it's celebrating its 50th anniversary. It's a double LP. It's going to be on gold vinyl. It's going to run you about $40 online. So July 3rd, 1973, this is a show from London. This was the last show of the Ziggy Stardust tour. And I think it was right before the last song that they played, David Bowie announced to the crowd that it was going to be the last show that they did. So then people in the crowd and the media that were there didn't really understand what was going on. A lot of them actually thought it was David Bowie retiring from music, and later he clarified it and said it was just the end of the Ziggy Stardust persona that he'd done for the last couple of years. And I think by '73, I think he was largely kind of over it. I think musically, I think he was kind of bored of it. I know he said in interviews, later in his career that he was really having a hard time separating the Ziggy Stardust persona from his own life, and it was kind of bleeding over too much. Like I said, musically, he was kind of over it. He wanted to go on and do some other things, and it was a great period in David's career. I think that was the period that really burst him into the spotlight and made him this larger than life character. But so this is all newly remastered. There's a couple of different things. I was actually surprised they didn't do a box set for this. So you got the vinyl version, which is going to run you about $40, and then there's also a CD Blu-ray version. I'll put links down below for that also if you want to check that out. But like I said, I think it's going to be a great release. It was a really great documentary. The documentary came out in, I think it was '79 when the documentary came out, and then they released this in '83, a couple years after the fact. But so like I said, I think it's going to be a great release. And then you've also got Liam Gallagher, Knebworth 22 coming out this week. So this is a new release. This is a live album recorded June 3rd and 4th, 2022 at Knebworth Festival in the UK. It's going to run you about $34 online. And so over those 2 dates, there's like 170-some thousand people that saw those shows. And Liam did a great job. I haven't heard it yet. I've seen nothing but great reviews on this. I know there's a documentary that was on, I think it was Paramount Plus that the documentary was on that showed the whole live show and all that stuff. But he does a great mixture of a bunch of solo stuff. He also does a bunch of great Oasis tracks also. So like I said, with that one and that David Bowie release, I think those are two that really kind of flying out of the radar. Might be good releases this week. So this week, you got another Lost album coming out from Neil Young. This is Chrome Dreams. This is a double LP. It's going to run you about $48 online. So this is 12 tracks recorded between 74 and 77. And then it was supposed to be released as an album in 77. I'm really sure what the backstory is. Somebody knows, they can drop me a comment and let me know. But I'm not sure if it was a Neil Young idea to shelve the project or something with the label. But anyway, they ended up not releasing it, even though several of these tracks ended up on other Neil Young projects later on down the line. And some of those tracks were even re-recorded, so there's some original tracks, original versions on this album that have never been released before. So like I said, it's definitely one I'm going to stream and check out. I'm looking forward to that this week. Then you've also got Elvis Presley, Aloha from Hawaii via satellite. This is going to run you about $35 online. This is a live show from Hawaii in 1973. It was broadcast all over the world. It was a gigantic hit for Elvis. It was a #1 album. This hasn't been pressed on vinyl since 2012. It's got 24 of his biggest songs on here across 2 LPs. It's Elvis, so I'm sure this is going to be a fantastic release. I haven't heard this. I mean, my aunt was a huge Elvis fan when I was growing up, so I'm sure I've heard this multiple times over the years, but it's one I haven't listened to in a long time. But definitely interested in grabbing that this week. So this week you got 2 great releases coming out from the Donnas. The first one, this is their self-titled debut album from 1997. This is on Natural with Black Swirl vinyl. So Natural vinyl is generally like a off-white kind of color. So I'm assuming that's kind of what it looks like. I haven't seen any mock-ups of it, though. This is going to run you about $32 online. Of course, the Donnas were hugely influenced by the Ramones. And actually, they were a pretty hugely influential band themselves. They would influence a lot of female punk rockers from the late 90s, early 2000s era. And the Donnas really kind of drifted away from that earlier punk sound. Did maybe some more hard rock stuff, some alternative stuff later in their career. But this is a fantastic release. It's definitely more like a raw and kind of unfiltered sound from the band. It's one that if you haven't listened to in a long time, if you only know like some of their later stuff, I definitely recommend going back and checking out their debut album. And then you've also got American Teenage Rock and Roll Machine coming out. So this was released in 98. It was their second studio album. It's on fire orange with black swirl vinyl, so actually might look pretty cool. It's going to run you about $30 online. It's definitely more of a polished album. This is more of a, I would call this album probably more of a hard rock album than really any other sound, but it's still a great album. I still love, especially like the earlier part of the Donna's career. I think they did a lot of great stuff. This week you got 333 by Green Jelly being reissued. And if you're unfamiliar with who Green Jelly is, they were a really interesting 90s band. Did some really funny stuff, but they combined like thrash with some grunge, with some just kind of straight up rock. On 333, they even like mixed in some dance stuff that maybe didn't quite work as well, but just a really funny band. They actually started out their career as Green Jello until they were sued for copyright infringement, had to change the name of the band. But so this is their album from 1994, is their third studio album. This is the follow-up to Serial Killer Soundtrack, which came out the year before. That was one that had Three Little Pigs was the big track on there. Huge videos all around MTV, got a bunch of airplay. It was probably my favorite Green Jelly song, but 333 is a really good album, even though it's kind of largely seen as a kind of a commercial failure. There is some really good stuff on there, though. It's running about $35 online. There was one big track, the Bear song, which I don't remember the song. It was in the movie Dumb and Dumber, so I did get some radio play, probably the one big track off of this album. And then you got New York Dolls, Dawn of the Dolls coming out this week. This is going to run you about $30 online. If you're unfamiliar with New York Dolls, they're one of those, like, I consider them one of the godfathers of punk music, especially in the 70s. I put them up there with like the Stooges, MC5, bands that really kind of laid the groundwork for what punk would be, at least in the early part of those years. And so these are all demos from before they released their debut album in 73. And when it comes to like early demos, I'm kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're just kind of okay. I'll probably stream this one and check it out. I know it's available on streaming services. But this is going to run you, so like I said, it's going to run you about $30. It's going to be on pink and black splatter vinyl. It's probably going to look pretty cool. I know these tracks have been available before. I know that there was a compilation called, I think it was Private World. Came out back in 2006. It was on CD. I'm not sure if they were available prior to that, but at least these demos have been around for a long time. This is kind of new packaging that they're putting together for them. Another release that I think is really kind of flying under the radar this week. This is Mudhoney, $5 Bob's Mock Cooter Stew. It's a heck of a name. It's running about $37, which I think is kind of pricey for what you're getting. This is just a 7-song EP. Mudhoney, of course, is one of those godfathers of grunge music. What they did in the late 80s, early part of the 90s, really kind of laid the groundwork for a lot of those other Pacific Northwest bands that came out of that Seattle scene. A lot of really great stuff. I've listened to a lot of stuff earlier in the career, and but I haven't listened to this EP. I'm not all that familiar with it. I know that a couple of these tracks ended up on later Mudhoney releases, but for $37, I think there's 7 songs on here. It's kind of pricey. This was originally released in 1993. It's long out of print. It hasn't been available on vinyl since 93. A lot of those 93 original pressings go for a ton of money. And I know there's a couple of different versions of this that are coming out. I think there's like a Tiger's Eye version. There's another splatter version. And I think this is the black version that's up on Amazon. So definitely going to check that one out. And then the last one on the list, this is Danzig 777 I Luciferi. I feel like I've talked about this album several times this year, and when I went back and looked at the release page for this is the 5th time this year that this album has been reissued. So this is Danzig's album from 2002. It was their 7th studio album, hence the 777. It was the last of the numbered releases for Danzig. So like I said, this has been released multiple times this year. There was a black version. There's a black pressing that came out earlier this year. All the other ones were all like splatter versions, things, colored versions. But the black version was like a really limited release. So I think this is like the wider release for that black version. It's going to run you about $30 online. I think this is one of Danzig's most complete albums. It's probably one that not a lot of people have listened to. Like I said, by the time 2002 rolled around, Danzig had gone through this transition. He'd done some like industrial stuff over his career, but this is, I think, more of a kind of a return to form for Danzig. One of his best albums, after the 90s. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. I think there's a bunch of great stuff coming out this week. Like I said, a lot of stuff is kind of flying under the radar. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out that Neil Young release. I'm probably going to stream that Mudhoney New York Dolls stuff. I'll probably pick up that Liam Gallagher release. Like I said, I think there's a really good mix of some soul stuff and some Oasis stuff that's going to be on there. But let me know what you're looking forward to picking up. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.